Wow!
The free Live 365 app is available for both Apple and Android devices.
That sounds like fun. I'll give it a try.
Just go to the Apple app or Google Play Store and download it today.
You're listening to WRDP, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
32.5 points that night. 83, Larry Holmes beat Lucian Rodriguez in 12 rounds for the heavyweight title. 88, local resident Mark McCumber wins the PGA Championship at the Players Championship at Sawgrass by 4 strokes over Mike Reed. He shot 15 under. 91, wow. University of Minnesota football team is banned from the postseason for providing extra benefits to 23 football players. You're not allowed to do that. 94, Greg Norman sets the PGA Championship scoring record when he wins the tournament minus 24 over Fuzzy Zeller. 98, NBA record crowd of 62,000 watched the Bulls Hawks at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. The Bulls won the game 89-74. 2000, Hal Sutton leads the players from wire to wire. He beat Tiger Woods. And in 2023, 1 year ago today, Caitlin Clark, 41 points, 12 assists, 10 rebound, triple-double. Iowa in the Elite Eight on their way to the Final Four. She will try to get back there again this weekend in her final women's tournament. Did you see, Joe? Ice Cube offered her $5 million to play in the Big Three, Caitlin Clark, when she gets done with college. Woo! So
I like
forget the WNBA. Go to the Big Three, Caitlin Clark. Make it happen there. We have another hour to go. Baseball starts tomorrow. We'll get into that next. Pharrell, Coast to Coast on the Grid. We're back after this.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at Western.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on Western Reserve Radio.
NHL last night, the Penguins beat the Hurricanes 4-1. Brian Rust, 23rd of the season. Late in the second period was the eventual game winner. Sidney Crosby had 2 assists. He also scored an empty netter. The Coyotes pounded the Blue Jackets 6-2. In overtime, the Capitals beat the Red Wings 4-3. Men's NIT quarterfinals on Tuesday. Georgia beat Ohio State 79-77. Indiana State cut by Cincinnati 85-81. The Major League Baseball season kicks into high gear this Thursday. The Tigers open up up on the road against the White Sox. Tariq Skubal gets the start for Detroit. The Pirates open up in Miami. Mitch Keller gets the nod for Pittsburgh. The Reds open up at home against the Nationals. Frankie Montas, the scheduled starter. The Guardians open up at Oakland. Shane Bieber on the board to get the start. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
Taco Bell just dropped the new Cravings Value Menu. Now you can get 10 items for $3 or less, which means you can get the food you want for the price you want. It's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too. But in this case, it's a double-stack taco from the new Cravings Value Menu. So basically, you can have your double-stack taco and eat it too, which is a lot crunchier than cake. The new Cravings Value Menu is here. Get it at Taco Bell today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for price and participation which vary. Tax extra.
And now Martha Stewart for Skechers. When I make a dish or embark on a craft project, I always use the finest, most fabulous ingredients and materials. Which is why, when it comes to footwear, I love Skechers. Because Skechers is the comfort technology company and uses the most luxurious, innovative materials and designs to make wondrously comfortable footwear with all the fits and features like Arch Fit and Skechers' world-famous air-cooled memory foam. It's exactly the way I'd make shoes.
Find Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Phantom fans, welcome to Season 6, Episode 23 of the Dump and Chase podcast. On this week's show, we'll break down a 4-game road trip, then do everything we can to forget about it. And we'll look ahead to a big matchup at Covelli this weekend with the Madison Capitals coming to town. And we welcome back Clark Cup Finals MVP Jacob Fowler. The Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio starts right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Dan.
I'm Justin.
And I helped.
Thank you, Sam, for all your help. In case no one has probably told you that.
All right, we're back here. Took a week off. Dan, how'd your procedure go? How are them double Ds treating you?
I'll give you some double Ds. I'm healing up pretty well. Thank you, Sam. I did like the comment from the Peanut Gallery saying I should have got the leg extensions.
Yeah, that was insulting. I resembled that remark. But no, took the week off. We are back now. One thing we didn't miss, but Justin, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. You're getting old when you need the money the next morning for a chiropractor and not bail.
Hey, you're looking great for 78. I had to go back and keep track. Every time I say the number out loud, I keep going higher. So I have to make sure where I'm at from the last time. By the end of the show, you'll be 87.
Used to be a good number.
Speaking of birthdays and anniversaries, this show first airing on the 26th. This coming Friday, March 29th, will actually be the show's 5-year anniversary. Now, we kind of went ham wild with it last year because it was also the 100th episode. Really ain't going to be doing anything too crazy this year show-wise, but we did get the news that the game this Friday against Madison, since that is the 5-year anniversary of the show, we are dropping the puck that night.
How about that?
Definitely interesting. Something I haven't done before. You have.
I have,
Sam.
but
yeah. Was not expecting that in the least.
Idea I had and worked with the front office, was able to get it done. So like I said, it was a little anniversary present to you guys. I've got to do it before. You guys haven't got to do it yet. So you guys were way more excited over the phone about this a few days ago. Is this that much of old news already, or?
It's been a long week, Sam. A long week.
But yeah, we did take the last week off, but last Wednesday, Dan, you weren't there. You had other obligations that are too embarrassing to admit. I'm not going to say it out loud.
You can admit what it was.
Your bocce ball tournament.
Yeah, I play bocce.
It was more important than what me and Justin did Wednesday night. So last Wednesday night, we were able to get a few minutes with Jacob Fowler for this week's show. And in the interview, we said, his time is very limited and his time is very valuable. I think we went through 4 reschedules when it was all said and done. Originally, the plan was we were going to talk to him over Christmas break, and that was going to happen. And then everything with the Team USA going to Sweden and him for the World Juniors and everything like that ended up not happening there. So we had to put it off, and then talked to him a couple weeks ago about it. We had it planned for Monday, and then that wasn't going to work. And then we rescheduled it for Tuesday, and then that wasn't going to work. And then finally got it rescheduled for Wednesday night. And I will say it wasn't us just continuously bugging him. To Jacob's credit, he kept rescheduling, and we're going to get this done. I'm going to do this. We're going to get this done, and we were finally able to get it done. So, as limited as his time was, I mean, he really went out of his way to make sure this interview happened. So, big credit to him for that.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't have other important things going on this week.
Oh yeah. Now, when we talked to him last Wednesday, they had played the game against UConn in the Hockey East quarterfinals and had won that game. We did the interview with him on Wednesday, and then it was last Friday, the semifinal game with UMass, which they won, 8-1, I believe?
Yep.
Something like that. And then, of course, the game on Saturday night, the Hockey East finals with Boston University, where they ended up winning that game, winning the Boston East, the Hockey East Conference. So that won't be included in the interview because we actually recorded that a couple days before that all happened. Of course, like we just talked about, the Hockey East Conference, Boston College winning that. So, of course, Jacob Fowler and then former Phantom Jack Malone as a member of Boston College. I really could have done without the 2 long shots of Shane LaChance sitting dejectedly on the bench by himself. I really could have done without those.
Shane has a long career ahead of him. I'm sure he'll win something big at some time.
Yeah, I mean, for Youngstown fans, I mean, you're happy for Jack Malone, you're happy for Fowler, and then there's just the scene of you're happy for that, happy to see him celebrate, and then there's just Shane LaChance looking all dejected on the bench with nobody around him, and then they did it twice. They showed that twice.
It's like ESPN was trying to make him into the Jordan crying meme thing, and I agree. I didn't like it either.
So then you bump, and then you see some of these names, you start to realize why they go by the initials. The ECAC, or the Eastern College Athletic Conference. Cornell walking away with that. So with Cornell, we're talking Tyler Catalano and Winter Wallace. And then also, I plastered this all over social media, but former Phantom Trey Taylor picking up the ECAC Defenseman of the Year, playing up there with Clarkson. And then I'm not saying these names anymore, the CCHA, that was Michigan Tech picking up that win. So you got Chase Patella and Nick Williams there. The Atlantic Hockey Conference, RIT, or the Rochester Technitude. Oh my gosh.
Bless you.
In the Atlantic Hockey Conference, the Rochester Institute of Technology, or RIT, you can tell I never went there, having Gianfranco Casaro. There's a name we haven't heard in a while. A really good name we haven't heard in a while. Gianfranco Casaro there with RIT. And then big Michigan State winning the Big Ten title. And, of course, former Phantom Tiernan Shouty. Again, another name we haven't heard in a while. But Tiernan Shouty picking up a conference title with Michigan State there. So congratulations to all them. So now that all those tongue twisters and everything's done, how about we take a break?
It was well earned. Yeah.
I think I was having like mini strokes as I was reading through that. So I'll decide what I'm going to leave in.
All of it.
All right. So we're going to step aside for a minute. The weekend recap is coming up next with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
We're back with the Dump and Chase podcast on the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio. So the Phantoms this past weekend making the trek from Sioux City up to Fargo with 2 games with the Force. Of course, a rematch of last year's Clark Cup Finals, going pretty much the opposite of how it did last year. Yeah, Youngstown Friday losing 6-1, Saturday losing 3-2. So starting out with the Friday game, and I would say probably about the first half of the first period, it was just kind of like a feeling out period between the two teams. No penalties were called in the first or second period, but like no penalties were being called. And I think the referees was just letting everything go, and you kind of got some flow to the game. The second half of the first period, some real good back and forth between these teams. And then Ryan Botterill there right at the end of the first period, 1 second left on the clock, put away his 23rd goal of the season, putting Youngstown up 1-0. Which was nice. You're sending Youngstown into the locker room with some momentum. That was about as far as that went.
Yeah.
Fargo would go on to score the next 6 goals in this game, 2 in the second period and 4 in the third period, giving them the 6-1 win. The Colin Wynn getting the start in this game, stopped 27 of 33 and had 2 penalty minutes. So going for the... well, no, he didn't have an assist, so that's not an Ivan Kolbakov hat trick.
No.
An assist and a penalty. So he was an assist shy of the Kolbakov hat trick. Yeah, this was one really good period by the Phantoms, I thought. The second period, Youngstown only managed 5 shots on goal. And everything just kind of went downhill from there. And then the third period is when you started seeing the penalties and everything else. And quite a handful of them there in the third period. Everything just the wheels fell off. And that was the ball game.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you go.
All right. So this is something we talked about early on in the year that, it's the story of the year has been the Phantoms taking a lot of penalties, and it worked out in the beginning of the year because we were able to kill them off, and it's catching up to us now because we're not killing them off with the same percentage that we did in the beginning of the year. And the penalties that we are taking, they're slashing penalties. They're penalties that are completely controllable. They're just, and I don't want to say dumb, but they're ones that we probably should not be taking. And I would like to give Fargo some flowers. The broadcast especially. I thought they put on a very good broadcast. I liked everything they do. Their commentator's pretty good, and I always like it when the team puts on when there's penalty minutes. I like when they put the the countdown of the penalties and stuff like that on there. But Fargo, they're a good team. They're as advertised, but I think when the Phantoms are clicking and playing, I think they're pretty even with Fargo. It's just the consistency was not there for the Phantoms this weekend.
No, and a lot of this was, I think, kind of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
They got in our head. We got to a point where I think we felt fairly early on, maybe if not in the second, early in the third, where we just were not going to make that comeback. I thought we did a lot better on Saturday at that. But even then, a lot of those goals are unforced errors. So mostly this was us fighting ourselves.
Yep.
And then, and it's what became a theme of this weekend. Phantom special teams did them absolutely no favors.
No.
On the weekend. In this game, Youngstown only had the 1 power play. They were 0 for 1. Fargo was 3 for 4 on the power play. And then when we get into Saturday, you're going to see similar numbers.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for winning hockey.
And then I think my favorite part, because I will say, like you said, I actually enjoy we have our history of taking our shots at other teams' broadcasters. Fargo's got a good one.
Yeah, no.
I mean, he calls the game. He calls what he sees. You don't have the editorials and everything else going on. I mean, he just called a good, clean game. You know, had a lot of information on the Phantoms, did his homework for sure, had a lot of information about various Phantom players and everything else. It's, to my understanding, there was actually some kind of contingent of Youngstown fans that went up to Fargo and apparently were treated very well while they were up there. I mean, and that's the odd thing. We have this rivalry with Fargo more based on, of course, Clark Cup finals than anything, but it seems to be a much more, respectful tone between the fan bases. Now, whoever selects 3 stars of the game for Fargo, on the other hand, apparently they chose pettiness. In this one, when they named the 3 stars of the game, Finn McLaughlin getting 2nd star of the game, who did have a goal in the game. It actually was the game-winning goal, so I can't understand that. Brandon Svoboda was the 3rd star of the game with his 1 assist. That one's a tiny bit more suspect.
I thought there were probably Fargo players and maybe even a Youngstown player or two that may have deserved more than...
Yeah, just looking here, I'm seeing Leo Gruba had 2 assists. I'm seeing players with more than 1 assist in this game, but 3rd star was given to Brandon Svoboda. But yeah, all the best to Finn McLaughlin and Brandon Svoboda. Moving on to the game on Saturday. Again, this was a 3-2 loss for the Phantoms. And you talk about, Youngstown had a good first period on Friday. Second period started to get away from him. Third period completely got away from him. First period on Friday kind of follow along that same pattern. I felt like the second and third period, Youngstown did a much better job, especially defensively. I mean, they were getting their opportunities. Just Fargo's Hampton, Slinsky, or whatever his name is, was able to keep him at bay. And he's the best goaltender in this league for a reason right now. Yeah, I felt like second and third period was a lot better effort by the Phantoms. Just when it was all said and done, it wasn't meant to be.
I think, again, we continued the trend of a lot of unforced errors. These ones didn't maybe end up in the back of our net, but killed a lot of our offense. Just bad turnovers, not being able to get up on transition. Small stuff that we can definitely improve on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I was looking at it, but I feel like there's a couple $1,000s worth of broken lumber on the ice. There was so many broken sticks, and the Phantoms got called for 2 in a row, and they got scored on both of them.
Yeah, and they were both good calls.
Yeah, they were absolutely warranted, and that was the difference in the game. Fargo made good on their chances, put the man up, and the Phantoms did not.
Now, I will say, I think it was the first one. Fargo slipped a guy up the middle, and you've got to try to prevent a scoring chance. So if you're going to take a slashing call, but again, it ended up in the back of our net eventually. So
yeah. So Youngstown, after the end of the first period, we're down 3-1. Ryan Botterill picking up the only goal for the Phantoms there in the first period. Second period would be the final goal of the game. Final goal for both teams, but that was scored in the second period. This was an interesting goal. Luke Osborne picking up his 7th of the season. I'd have to say this is one of the more interesting goals I've ever seen.
Well, just the fact that it was fed to him by Sasha Boumediene, which seeing a D-to-D pass end up in a goal is not that unusual, but when it's like in the face-off circle, with 2 forwards hanging back, if something goes wrong, it's not going to be good for you. But Luke buried it, so a great pass by Sasha.
You talk about defensemen pinching. This was, I think, more the extreme example of that.
Yeah, both were a little bit deeper than we normally see.
Yeah, you got Sasha at the right face-off dot, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, what is he doing that far down? And then he throws that cross-ice pass. I didn't see who scored it right away. The puck goes in, and I'm like, oh, okay, good pass. And then it was like they come out of the huddle, and it was Luke Osborne. And I'm like, what the heck were they doing?
We're sitting there messaging each other. And
And it's one of those, if it worked, so great. But if, like you had said, if like a pass deflected or
the shot's blocked,
it starts going the other way. Oh, buddy.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're down. You lost the night before pretty badly. I guess if you're going to take your chances, do it.
You know, if they don't score that's going to be film study the next day.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so it is now time for the Dump and Chase podcast, 3 stars of the week. And I will kick it off with the 3rd star. That is Charlie Serrato. 2 assists this weekend. Coming up on a milestone here. He is only 6 points away. He is only 6 points away from 50 this year. So, I mean, you're talking about somebody who with the NTDP last year, only 16 points. So increasing that this season, currently at 44, coming in on 50. I want to think Charlie, I think, has kind of had the turnaround season he was hoping for when he came here.
I think that's kind of what we were expecting when we brought him in. 2nd star of the week, Sasha Boumediene. 3 assists. One of those, obviously, we talked about earlier. Great play. Snapped an 11-game pointless streak. So he's someone who obviously wants to contribute and did that this weekend.
Yeah, Phantoms only scored 3 goals this past weekend. Sasha assisted on all 3 of them.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to our 1st star of the week, and that's Ryan Botterill. He had 2 goals in a weekend. He's working on a 7-game point streak right now. He's now 4 points away from 50 on the season. He is 1st on the team in goals with 24 and 2nd on the team in points with 44. And I feel like he finds a way to get his name on our list almost every week, it seems like.
Yeah. The Phantoms scored 3 goals this last weekend. He scored 2 of them.
Thank you.
These 3 were pretty much the bulk of the offense this past weekend. All right, so that will do it for 3 stars and the weekend recap. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you'll hear our interview from last Wednesday night with Phantoms legend Jacob Fowler. So keep it here with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast on the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio. So for this week's very special edition of Phantom Files, we welcome back to the show a reigning Clark Cup champion, the reigning USHL and USA Hockey Goaltender of the Year, a finalist for the Mike Richter Award for top goaltender in college hockey, was just recently named All Hockey East First Team and All Hockey East Rookie Team. He is the backstop for the number 1 ranked college team in the country, Boston College Eagles. He is number 1, Jacob Fowler. Jacob, I know your time is extremely limited and valuable, so thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thanks for having me back.
Totally different time crunch when you're in college.
So right off the bat, your guys' by the time this airs, this will actually be a couple weeks ago, but we're recording way earlier than we normally do. Your previous game against UConn, that was a heck of a game to watch. I'll tell you what, it's like watching these Hockey East games. It's almost like these like souped up USHL All-Star games.
Yeah, I mean, Hockey East and in general this year has been a pretty talented league, and there's definitely no nights off. And you mix that all into playoff time this time of year, and nobody's ready to have their season ended. So definitely not the easiest game in the world, and happy the boys got it done.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were up in that game. UConn came back and tied it, and then our old friend Jack Malone helped get you guys back up by 1. I hate to say we're used to you making these kind of saves because we've watched it for the last 2 years, but that save you made with about 30 seconds left on the deflection right in front of the net was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, probably wasn't the happiest camper in the world when we let UConn back in it, but Malone was unbelievable for us, and he got that 5th goal, and it was time to hunker it down and do whatever it takes to get up and stay ahead for the rest of the game. That's for sure.
So this weekend you have the Hockey East semis with UMass. I mean, how much are you looking forward to that? I mean, you guys are getting right down to it as far as the Hockey East tournament, leading into the full NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this time of year is kind of the moments you live for. I think the big reason of me coming to a school like BC was to play in these games on Friday nights in the TD Garden. So for me personally, it's going to be an unbelievable experience. But I think you kind of put that to the side and kind of do whatever it takes to win that game and move on to Saturday night.
How long will it be until you and Shane LaChance are friends again?
I mean, I kind of had him the first couple times we played him. He got one back in game 2, but we see each other frequently. So definitely good buddies as soon as we're off the ice and not playing BU versus BC. But
I hear that's a little bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different, and houses divided in Youngstown, that's for sure, with the Billets. So it's been fun to play against them, but definitely like playing with them more than against them.
Now, did he the one game he did get the goal against you? Did he say anything to you during the game or like after the game about it? Or
oh, he was in my ear all weekend. Anytime that big fella's in front of the net, there's always some words being said. So he definitely had the first laugh, but I got the last laugh in the first 2 games. So hopefully get the last one later in the year here.
So going back, when we talked to you at the rally and everything else about that, there was one aspect of the playoffs last year. You had told me after the season was over, I kind of waited for you to be the one to tell this story because it is your story to tell. During last year's playoffs, as well as you did, you were not 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say we played Chicago and Cedar Rapids. I think it was 2 out of our last 3 weeks of the season, and we played Chicago, and I was starting to feel it pretty good and played through it, but then went to the doctors and got diagnosed with a high ankle sprain and a couple torn ligaments in my ankle, and I didn't go on the road to Cedar Rapids the next week. And then in my head I'd been doing all the math about how many games left and if I'd be able to make it to playoffs, because we were in a race to get that top 2 seed to get the first round bye, and I kind of gutted it out against the 17s the final weekend. And I got to give a big shout out to, our support staff in Youngstown with, Amber Martinelli and, Tommy Malloy. They were, first class with all the rehab and all the treatment that I was getting. And they're probably the main reason why I was able to even put my gear on for the last, 9 games that we played. So definitely felt it throughout the whole playoffs, but got to give a big shout out to them for kind of getting me through it.
But as soon as the clock hit 0 there in game 3, you didn't feel it at that moment.
Oh, I mean, even after the celebration and everything, I still had to get in the ice bath with that for at least 5 minutes to numb that up. I mean, it looked like there was a softball on my ankle after game 3, that's for sure.
The last time we talked to you on the show was, at the rally, right after you guys had won the cup. Now that you're, 10 months removed from that, I mean, how nowadays do you look back on, what you guys did and what ended up happening?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the moment, you're kind of just trying to enjoy it with your teammates and the staff because, since the rally, we haven't all been together in, one room since. So you obviously stay in contact with one another, but I think, like you said, over these last 10 months, you do a lot of reflecting. And, for me as a hockey player, I look at that as, you always want to be a winner. I think, each level you move up, people want you on your team the more that you win. And, as a goalie, I want to be that guy that every time I'm in the net, the staff thinks we can win. So I think what I took most out of the experience was that Coach Ward had the message that it's either you win or you have exit meetings. And, we didn't want to have exit meetings at the end of last year. That's for sure.
Now, the current Phantoms, coming down towards the end of the season, looking at locking a playoff spot up here soon. Well, I mean, what advice would you have for those guys coming into this stretch of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think personally it's about, where you start. It's about how you finish. I think, last year personally for our team, we had a lot of ups and downs. I mean, I think we started the year 2-6 or 2-7. So I think no team's ever out of it. It doesn't matter if you're in first place or, you're just scratching your way into the playoffs. It's once you get in, it's what you do after. So I think they changed the format in the playoffs that after the first round, every series is best of 5. So I think, I don't think too many teams can beat Youngstown 3 times. So I like their chances and, rooting for them.
Last season ends, the rally's over, everything else. Just a few weeks later, we had main camp. We go walking into main camp and surprise, surprise, there you are. We just couldn't get rid of you. I think you might have scared Colin a little bit when he walked in and saw you there. We've heard his side of the story. He said he played it off cool, but so I got to talk to you then. This was leading up to the draft, of course. You had told me this story. I mean, I kind of got a chuckle out of it. So I'm, going to ask you to, tell the story again. When you went to the ceremony for where you won USA Hockey Goaltender of the Year, the prize that you were given for winning this award, it was a little big.
Yeah, I mean, when I found out I was kind of up for the award, it was all kind of a whirlwind. We were actually at the NHL Combine. And Knuble and I had to leave a day early and fly to Colorado. And, we were both accepting these awards. And I didn't know what the award was going to kind of look like. I was kind of expecting maybe like a small kind of hockey figure. But it was a absolutely massive, almost looked like a painting the size of the frame. It was absolutely huge, almost the size of like my TV. So they, thankfully, they wrapped it, boxed it, and shipped it home to Florida because I was living out of a suitcase pretty much all last summer. There was no way, myself or my parents were going to be able to get that from Denver back to Florida. That's for sure.
Were your parents able to find somewhere to hang it in the house, or did they just have to like stick it on the side of the house? Or
in full transparency, I have no idea where that is right now. I think it might be like in my room somewhere. Just in picked up a lot of memorabilia over the last 10 months with. Obviously the new ring coming in, so I don't know where they've kind of put up all this stuff.
And the rate you're going, you keep adding to that trophy case as well. You've to say you've had success at Boston College so far has been an understatement. I mean, of course, the season's not over yet. You're looking for more. You've got a pretty good haul so far. And what the first time I ever talked to you, you were out in Connecticut. You're playing prep, putting up these ungodly numbers for a goaltender in prep hockey. Then you come to the Phantoms, you do what you do with the Phantoms, and then you move on to Boston College, and then you're doing what you're doing now. I'm trying to think of a way to say that it's not like, has it gotten harder every step of the way, or do you feel like you've been able to adjust maybe sooner than others would as you move up these levels?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, each level you kind of move up. The game does get, a little bit faster and, guys get a little bit better. So I think, fortunately enough, I was, pretty well prepared coming out of Youngstown and, got to be around a staff that, prepared us for this level. And I think for me, a big part of why I came here was going to be, the resources and, the people that were going to be in this locker room, and pretty fortunate to have 26 guys that can score at a high level and defend really well, and obviously have a really good coach. So for me, all of those have kind of made it an easier transition, and certainly not done yet, but I think there's still a lot of room to grow as well.
Now we're going to hop around the timeline a little bit here. So you go to Nashville last summer. You ended up drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. And then you talked about, having family ties up there, up in that area and everything else like that. What did that mean to you? I mean, we're all Penguins fans here. I mean, it's okay. I know you're drafted by Montreal, but we know who you grew up rooting for. But as a storied franchise as that is, I mean, what did that mean to you? Going to Montreal there in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have asked for a better place to get drafted. And like you said, I do have a lot of ties to Montreal and to that area in general. So I think my grandfather couldn't be there. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I definitely feel like his presence was there that day with me. And obviously super emotional for myself and for my family that was there. So I think kind of once you get that sigh of relief to hear your name called, it's that moment kind of sinks in where you get to put the jersey on. And crazy enough, Swoboda went 2 picks after me. So right after I was kind of walking out, I got to see him put his jersey on for the first time and kind of got to share the moment with him. So super surreal, and certainly something that not a lot of kids and teammates get to have.
Yeah, because not only were you drafted, you were drafted along with 5 of your teammates. So I mean that just had to have been a heck of a time for you guys, especially that little 7-minute block where 3 of you went.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of go through the process with them all year. There's these little boxes you check throughout the year, whether it's the first time we'd interview with the team, they'd usually come in and meet with all of us. So kind of the big group that we had would go through it together, and all being at the BioSteel game together, minus Martin. It was pretty cool to kind of see how we were all able to handle it, and kind of that we all got to go through it together made it a little bit easier to kind of not think about it and get wrapped up in the whole draft talk and kind of just worry about going and winning games. So super cool, and definitely still keep those memories with me and stay in touch with all those guys.
Now, I had told you, I think it was the day after the draft, I had told you the line that is now attached to you, here in Youngstown, national media, Canadian media, your line that pressure is a privilege. So on a microphone, I'd like to say, we're very thankful we were able to help you practice that line before the draft. I think we even named one of our episodes that last season. And it's, the Canadian hockey press they're very dedicated, a lot more than they are in the United States. And you had completely won them over, not only with that line, but a lot of the other things that you were saying. Canadian hockey teams can be very fickle about draft picks. You were one that was, I won't say universally, because that's never going to happen. But for the most part, you were a very, beloved draft pick of the Canadians right away, not only with the fans, but with the media.
Yeah. I think something about me is, I want to be a Montreal Canadian. I think a lot of guys kind of get drafted and, they're kind of assigned to a team, when for me, it was, I have the privilege and the honor of being drafted to the most storied franchise in all of hockey. And, I think for me, I have pictures of me as a little kid wearing, Montreal Canadiens jerseys. And, for me to even have that thought in the back of my mind that, I want to be a starting goalie in the Bell Center and have a career with the Montreal Canadiens kind of gives me chills. And, I think every single day, that's kind of the goal that I'm working towards. And I know the media and the fans up there, are pretty crazy, and, they want their team to win so bad. And, I think a big part of my game is, I'm pretty competitive and, want to win games. So I think for me, the biggest goal is, you want to win a Stanley Cup. And, I think to be able to do that in that market is something that they're really searching for, and something I really want to be a part of.
How is it moving from Youngstown, the media there, which, to Boston, which, is kind of a major hockey market? Notice any difference there?
It's definitely been a little bit different. I think obviously the attention our team's been getting this year with the talent and, it's kind of the superstars we have in this room. It's definitely something, guys could get wrapped up in. And I think for us, it's understanding that you put yourself in this position because, you want to be a professional hockey player. So kind of just treat it like a pro and, kind of understand that, it is a job now, and you got to go out and perform your best every night.
So you're a Florida kid, but you're kind of a Pittsburgh kid by proxy. a Montreal draft pick. Has anything like that come up being in Boston, which is not, you're not going to find too many Montreal or Pittsburgh fans in Boston?
Yeah, certainly not too many Montreal Canadian fans here in Boston, but the few that are brave enough to kind of root for the Habs in Boston, they certainly show their support for me and come say hello or let me know that they're rooting for me here. And it's pretty special to see because, the crazy thing about the Montreal Canadiens is, their fans are the best for a reason, and you'll find them everywhere wearing a, Habs shirt or a jersey.
All right. So just in general, how's college life?
It's been awesome. I think coming to a school in Boston, it's pretty wild to be, kind of on a campus, but still be, 5 miles from downtown. So certainly a lot of sightseeing and, still getting pretty acclimated to the city. It's a little different than my hometown of Florida and Youngstown, that's for sure.
What is it you're majoring in this year?
I'm majoring in communications.
Well, this year, like you're going to change it next year. How's that been working out for you so far?
It's been good. Learned a lot, taking a lot of classes that, for me that I find interesting and that, hopefully can, translate to the real world.
So before we let you out of here, is there anything you would like to say, to, former billets, teammates that are still on the team, Youngstown fans who I'm positive are going to be coming out in droves for this episode?
Oh man, I think there's obviously too many, shout outs to give, to specific people, but I think the biggest one would be, I want to give a big shout out to my former roommate, Torrey Pittner. Hopefully he's, doing well over there. I keep in touch with him every once in a while, but root for the kid. He's obviously going through his draft year this year with, kind of all the pressure that's on him now and, being a returning player. So rooting for him, know he's going to do the right things. And, obviously my billets, stay in good contact with them and, pretty much the whole staff in general. So certainly miss Youngstown and, hope to be back soon.
All right. So, Jacob, again, we know how valuable your time is right now. Anytime in the future you ever want to come back here, we'll make a spot for you. If I got to get rid of Justin, I'll do it. With it, with that communications degree, way down the road when your career is over, we'll have a spot for you here on the show. Good luck against UMass. I know, but by the time this episode comes out, that'll already be over with. But good luck against UMass this weekend. Hopefully get to see you guys in the Hockey East Finals and then hopefully seeing you in the Frozen Four here in a couple weeks. So definitely good luck to you. And thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks again for having me.
And with that, we're going to step aside for a moment. The weekend preview is coming up next with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Hello, Kubo. What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm going to do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
We're back with the Dump and Chase podcast on the home of Phantoms Hockey, Western Reserve Radio. So as far as the upcoming weekend schedule, we're going to take a look around the Eastern Conference, starting out on Thursday with our weekend opponent, Madison, traveling up to Plymouth for a game with the NTDP U17s. On Friday, Chicago will be at Green Bay for the first game of a 2-game series there. Actually, all of these games will be the first of a 2-game series. Save myself some time. So Chicago will be at Green Bay. The U18s are in Dubuque, and Muskegon will be at Cedar Rapids. And then pretty much all those same things again on Saturday. So the abridged version of the weekend schedule.
A normal USHL weekend.
Yeah, normal weekend for once. Actually, you know what? I had a note previously. I completely forgot to bring it up, so I'll bring it up now. So now we're getting down to the end of the season for most teams. You're not going to see any more interconference play other than, I think, like Cedar Rapids. So Youngstown in what ended up being 17 games against the Western Conference this season went 8-7-2. That record was a little better before the last 2 weekends.
Agreed.
It was, like 7-4-2 was the record. Went a little by the wayside there. So going into this weekend's games at the Covelli Center with the Madison Capitals coming to town. These will be the final 2 games of a 6-game season series between these teams. Youngstown currently leads the season series with 2 wins, a loss, and overtime loss versus Madison this season. These teams last played on February 16th and 17th. With Youngstown losing the game on the 16th 5-4 and then winning on the 17th by a score of 4-2. So last weekend, Madison 2 games, lost to Dubuque 6-2 and then beat the U17s 5-1. And again, it is important to remember in everything we're going to talk about from here on out, again, that Madison will have that game on Thursday up in Plymouth with the U17s. So Madison coming into this weekend with a record of 27-22-6. That is good for 60 points and 5th place in the Eastern Conference. And they have won 9 of their last 11 games. Basically, if you look at like the last 10 games for every team, they've been the best team in the United States Hockey League. Youngstown coming into this weekend with a record of 28-19-8. That gives them 64 points and 4th place in the Eastern Conference. However, Youngstown has lost 7 of their last 9 games. So a lot of this is boiling down to Madison, especially if they get the win on Thursday. That'll put them 2 points behind Youngstown in the standings. Madison could be coming into this weekend with a ton of momentum and a ton of motivation.
No, it's a great time for a team to be playing their best hockey all year is right now. Madison seems to be putting it all together, and hopefully Youngstown can course correct this weekend.
I mean, from my point of view, especially this weekend, but pretty much every game from here on out, you have to start playing this like you're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we've talked about, can we, we're sitting in 4th. Can we catch Muskegon? Can we catch Green Bay? It's reaching the point now, especially now Green Bay, 7 points in the standings ahead of Youngstown with 7 games left. Muskegon is 6 points ahead with 6 games left. It's coming down to the wire. And as much as, paying attention to that, now you have to pay attention to Madison. If Youngstown does not get their, plain and simple, if Youngstown cannot get their act together here, I mean, we could be talking about Madison leaving Youngstown 2 points ahead of Youngstown in the standings. And now Youngstown is looking at, having to play a road series in the first round of the playoffs.
And that is not something you want to do.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, Madison having all the momentum, having all the motivation coming into this weekend, because they could come out of this weekend with some great results. It's going to boil down to what is Youngstown's motivation? We kept looking ahead to, the next weekend with Green Bay coming in, for a 3-3, now it's especially with them being 7 points ahead. I mean, for Youngstown to catch up to Green Bay and even catch up to Muskegon, I mean, it's going to take a lot of wins, 7 games left. It's going to take a lot of wins in those 7 games.
Yeah.
And some luck elsewhere. I'd hate to say this is a make or break weekend for Youngstown, but the dream of a first round bye is slipping away. And again, if they don't get their act together, being able to host a first round series could start slipping away.
No, yeah. And I mean, you have to play with some sense of desperation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, every game, like Justin said, it's just one game at a time. You can't win them all with one time. You can't win every single game just by wanting to do it. They have to go out there and they do it. And we've seen this Phantom team, when they're clicking, when all cylinders are firing, they are unstoppable. And we've also seen them completely on the opposite side of the fence where they can't complete a couple passes together. And it's just consistency. That consistency has been the Phantom's issue this year. It's going to be a great game. Madison's one of the main reasons they're playing so well is they got Austin Bernavec. He's leading the league in scoring. He's got 37 goals on the year, 63 points overall. And he's willing them to victory right now.
I mean, yeah, if you have to, it's 20 minutes at a time, and you have to play that whole 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And talking, once the playoff starts, all bets are off the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Youngstown at home this season, they have a 761 winning percentage at home. They have a 482 winning percentage on the road. There's, almost a 300 point difference there. So even if Youngstown, does have to play in the first round, playing it at home is paramount.
Yeah. Sam, you asked what their motivation was. Those stats you just listed off, that's their motivation.
Yeah. It's just Youngstown cannot put together consistent games on the road. We've seen it all season long. So, I mean, it's if you want to hope to get into the playoffs, and get some momentum going, I don't know if this team will be able to do it on the road.
And that said, out of the final stretch, only one game is on the road, and that's the U17. So, I mean, we have a good chance at winning the majority of these games. But that is really kind of in our hands. And we have to play, like I said, I think with some degree of desperation.
Looking at the remainder of Madison's schedule, the U17s, 2 games with Youngstown, 2 more games with the U17s. Cedar Rapids, who is currently in 7th place in the conference, and finishing out the season with a home and home at Green Bay. It's right now you can see more opportunities for them to get wins with the way they've been playing than we have. Looking up ahead, the 3 games with Green Bay hasn't been playing the greatest hockey. So they're more of a 500 team right now. So it's as much as you want to look up ahead in the standings, they have to be cognizant of what is coming up behind them right now.
And as the Phantoms go the rest of the year, they shouldn't even worry about what anybody else is doing right now.
Yeah.
Because their fate's in their own hands.
Yeah. I'd love to say if they could win out, 7 games left, if they could win out, it's a whole new ball game.
Which is very possible.
But again, it just comes back to that, can they be, they've lacked consistency. Can they pull it together at home? And I hope to God they do. I really do. And I think this is a team that could do it.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's up to them.
Well, I will say, I think the Youngstown fans have a good chance of making some sort of an impact here.
Yeah.
So we need to show up as well.
Yeah.
Well said.
So as far as that is concerned, for these games, Friday and Saturday night, puck drop both nights is 7:05. Friday night is YSU night. And again, also our 5-year anniversary. So we get to drop the puck.
And YSU students get to drink the beer.
So as has been the story of the podcast for the last 5 years. Officially, this is YSU night. Unofficially, it is Dump and Chase podcast night. So we rock the unofficial hard. So unofficially Dump and Chase podcast night on Friday night. And of course, Saturday is the Easter game. They haven't released much about that yet. I'm sure more will be coming this week as far as what's going to be going on with that. So make sure you're keeping an eye on Phantom's social media for more information.
Kids beating each other up on the ice for eggs.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
So if you do not have tickets to this game yet and you would like tickets to these games, you can call the Phantoms box office at 330-747-PUCK. That is 330-747-7825. And if you cannot make it to the games, of course, they will be available on Flow Sports and Western Reserve Radio with a voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Matt Lipsack, on the call. All right, gentlemen, unless you have any other thoughts.
No thoughts here.
No.
All right, so we're going to take one last break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this episode and look ahead to next week's show. So keep it here one more time with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
The Storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What? Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this. To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies.
Like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
How to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
The most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hello, Kubo. What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm going to do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
We're back, and that will do it for this week's edition of the Dump and Chase podcast. A massive, massive thanks to Jacob Fowler for carving out some time to chat with us. And as always, a big thanks to all of our listeners, whether new or old, for tuning in this week. So on next week's show, we will be recapping the 2 games at the Covelli Center with Madison, and we will be previewing a 3-3 series at Covelli with the visiting Green Bay Gamblers. So you can hear this show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. on Western Reserve Radio, either on westernreserveradio.com, the Live 365 or TuneIn apps, the Western Reserve Radio Facebook and Twitter pages, and the Youngstown Phantoms Facebook page. You can catch this show in its podcast format on Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can find us all on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, the merch store for the show. You can find all of these links on the official website. That is dumpandchasepod.com. So before we get out of here, to my co-hosts, Dan Conley and Justin Irwin, any final words of wisdom?
Just mirror what Justin said earlier. I hope to see everybody at the Covelli Center and hope to help the boys get 2 dubs on the weekend.
Yeah, that's all I got is we need butts and seats and people to cheer for the team.
Alrighty, so as we wrap up,
the Bears and the Cowboys think that they can contend. The Panthers know they cannot.
Sad state of affairs in some organizations. Let's take a break. When you all get back, the 49ers have extended their lead over the Seahawks to a